What's the good word, y'all? DKB here. So it's been a while since we've covered, potential draft day trades. I have a fresh one out the oven for you guys. So we had Nick Baumgardner of The Athletic running through a 3-round mock draft. He ended up predicting the New York Jets and the Atlanta Falcons would end up completing a draft day trade in the first round in order for the New York Jets to land the best pass blocking offensive lineman, period. Doesn't matter position. So let's get into kind of the details of the trade, who this guy actually is, and then we'll take it from there. What's the realistic expectations of it, etc. So the Jets would be, for starters, picking round 1, 8th pick. That is the Falcons selection, right? The Falcons in return will be receiving our 13th pick, so a first round swap, and then we would be tossing in a future 3rd round pick in the 2024 NFL draft. Now, I'm a guy that's liked, depending on how you classify these linemen, but I'm a guy that's loved the second tier a lot more than the first. Just not having tackle is that primary number one need for this team at the moment. So in every scenario I've kind of ran through, I've taken it from the standpoint that I got to try to trade back, or I'm going to select the best player at a few other positions like defensive tackle, even potentially safety with a guy like Brian Branch. Maybe you take a shot on a guy like Nolan Smith on the edge. There's a number of different interesting ways that you can go with it. But in this case, for the compensation that it took to move up and get your selection of the top offensive lineman in this draft, it doesn't get much better than that. Now, I will say, I don't know what... Okay, Joe Douglas obviously pulls out the ski mask when he can, right? He'll rob people left and right, but I think the league has kind of been onto him somewhat, although he's still pulling off moves. Think Chuck Clark most recently, even though they would have been released, it was kind of us securing a starting safety for ourselves without having to bid against anybody else. But he's still pulling quite a few magic tricks out of his hat. So to see a move like this actually get pulled off for a simple future round draft pick and a swap of a first, I think would be excellent. Now, let's get into the player. So we're only giving up 2 picks. We're moving up 5 slots. We're going out and we're selecting, depending on what you want to play him at, tackle or guard, Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern. And as I mentioned, this guy is the best pass blocking offensive lineman, period. It's not something, again, I'm not a professional here by any means, but every guy that I've seen that's kind of been breaking down this offensive lineman class has essentially said the same thing. Even for those that think Paris Johnson may be the best overall tackle coming out of this class, or the best one that can develop into the elite, tackle out of this class, everybody goes back to Peter Skoronski, his technical skills, hand usage, technique, him just essentially being able to go out there and stonewall people. So as normal, this is a guy that we've already covered. So, somewhere up there, I'll have the scouting report breakdown that we did for Peter Skoronski, but that's all we essentially need to know. We are trading up, which has kind of been something we're accustomed to, right? Elijah Vera Tucker being one of those other offensive linemen that we were willing to move up for, and it's looked like a great pick, even though we sacrificed 2/3. In this case, we're just sacrificing 1, and we still get to, potentially keep other picks in this draft, in this scenario anyway. So I love it. What this does for the roster is maximum versatility as necessary, right? The way you look at Peter Skoronski, or the way we should envision him, is the same way we envision Elijah Vera Tucker. At guard, he has all-pro potential. At tackle, he could be a Pro Bowl. He can even be maybe a second-team All-Pro, first-team All-Pro, but that's something that you have to project a lot more than you would at guard. A lot of that is due to the fact that he has, under average. I don't think that's necessarily a word, but he has below average, there we go, measurements in that area, right? I want to say off the top of my head, 28-inch arms. I think that's far off. The number that I'm thinking is like 32 and like a quarter or something like that. But either way, he doesn't necessarily have the arm length for him to go out there and, get first contact and some of these different things that we may look for. But ultimately, I would be excited for it. You're talking about a guy that could probably go out and take Laken Tomlinson's job right away, although you'd hate to see that contract sitting on the bench for a while. But still, with the performance that we've seen, if nothing less, he should give him a hell of a push for starting time. Maybe you go out there and you try to see if he can beat out Max Mitchell at right tackle in the meantime. Work him into guard heading into the future years, although we did restructure Laken Tomlinson's contract, so he'll be hanging around a lot longer than most of us want unless he turns in a top 10 performance like we were expecting. So there's a few places you can try your hand at, right? If they want to get really crazy, maybe center. He does have the history of being a center, I want to say, in his high school years. But yeah, it's just an awesome pick all the way around. Again, a lot of this is specifically based around the fact that we've only had to give up a future third-round pick to get him. Otherwise, any other trade scenario, I wouldn't necessarily love it. I think we do need a lot of shots at the board in this draft just to make sure that we have the proper depth that we're going to need in 2 to 3 years when, we're expected to bring on OBJ. We've, restructured Tomlinson and Tyler Croft and CJ and some of these guys that we may necessarily not have wanted a year from now to stay on. They're going to be on a extra year, 2 years with us. So I want to build the depth properly, take some shots, take some risks in this draft because you're able to go out there and really not put these guys in a trial by fire type situation. So I guess the final piece of this will be the realism piece. In my mind, from a value standpoint, it somewhat makes sense, right? So this is going back to trade chart value. The Falcons pick in number 8 is worth 1,400 points. What the Jets ended up packaging up was swapping the first round and giving the third equals 1,345 points. Now, especially in the first round, the way this usually works is that the team that's trading up is going to overpay. So in this case, we actually got great value in this particular trade. So that's the first point. Realistically, it's hard to say that you'll see a team like the Falcons settle on that. Secondly, the Falcons, especially if maybe there's a quarterback that's still on the board, like a Will Levis or something like that that's out there. I've heard, the quarterback situation may not be as set as we thought with Desmond Ridder. Although I think the GM did come out and say that, he's still QB of the future for them. But they still have needs all over the place, right? They may have their pick of the litter at cornerback if they want. Maybe they can go at. There's just a lot of places that they can address, a need. And especially considering it's not like they're picking up extra draft capital in this year still. They're just moving back and then getting an extra pick next year. I don't see the team or really fans on that side of the spectrum jumping at the chance to complete this trade. So it's all in fun and jest by Nick Baumgardner. If it comes to fruition, excellent. I think it's easily a win by the Jets in that situation. But if you're a Falcons fan, let me know how you feel. Drop back. Even at 13, though, I think you could still have maybe only 1 or 2 of the top cornerbacks off the board. I think you still have a very strong chance at somebody you love. But let me know what your thoughts are for the Jets, seeing that we move up in this scenario to get Peter Skoronski. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'll catch you guys again. Peace.